In today's video, we're going to be recapping UFC Paris from this past Saturday, and we will also be matching up most of the winners and a couple of the losers. We are matching them up for their next fights. Who will be their next opponent? We're going to be getting into that today, guys. And I just have to say, UFC Paris, yay! It was a good event. It was fun. I think it was like 11 out of 13 fights or finishes. So that's pretty fantastic. Lots to talk about today with Imavov and Benoit Saint-Denis. But let's go ahead and let's get into these undercard and prelims of the fights this past weekend. And let's kind of break those down real quick before we get into the nitty-gritty ball knowledge. I didn't watch that fight, so yeah, there you go. Andreas Gustafsson and Hernat Fakhretdinov. Hernat Fakhretdinov gets it done by KO against our man Andreas Gustafsson, the Marauder. Yeah, Hernat just came out swinging. Andreas looked to push no pace coming out of the gates for this fight. And he gets beat up really bad. Good on Hernat. Not much to say about that except that Andreas Gustafsson has been fraud checked. I feel like I wanted Andreas to win more than I really for sure thought he was going to win. I thought he had a good shot though, man. I really did, but Hernat gets it done by KO, man. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this fight right here. Brad Tavares and Robert Brycek, the poll. I picked Brad Tavares starting off 0-2. I picked Brad Tavares because I thought his vet skills and him being a fundamentally sound MMA fighter would get this fight done against a guy like Brycek, who I thought was garbage just based off the fact he lost to Ihor Potieria. But that is not what we've seen at all this fight. We've seen an absolute domination put on by Robert Brycek. Looked pretty solidly well-rounded. I liked the pace he pushed in the fight. Got it done in the third round. An arguable 10-8 round there. I probably would have gave it to him. But good on Robert Brycek. He looks good. Brad Tavares, you may want to hang him up. Oh, maybe Brycek's just that good, guys. We don't know. Moving on to the next fight. Here's where we start to catch a little momentum picks-wise. Sam Patterson gets it done by first round KO against Trey Waters. Sam Patterson just looked a lot more comfortable in the octagon on the feet compared to Trey Waters. And I think he's just more fundamentally sound on the feet. He's able to pick his shots better, has a good amount of power, and just a better striker than Trey Waters. Better octagon presence, dictated the pace quite well. While the fight lasted on the feet, Sneaky Sam gets it done in Badi. Moving on to the next fight. Brutal loss for Harry Hardwick. Brutal loss. He maybe shouldn't have said what he said about Anthony Smith considering how he ended up. But Quay Fernandez looked quite good out there Saturday night in Paris. Possibly, wow, those leg kicks, my oh my. You can see the damage right there on the calf. However, Quay Fernandez looked very comfortable on the feet. Looked leagues above Harry Hardwick. I know he is a featherweight fighter, but Harry Hardwick did not look too swell. I was rooting for the guy. I think he's funny. He's a good character. However, Quay Fernandez looks quite sound on the feet with his kick placement, punch placement. Seems to get a good amount of pop coming off of his shots. I think he's an interesting lightweight prospect at this point. You know, man, he beat Garam. Could a lad say Garam? Garasalam. But Quay Fernandez looked great. Harry Hardwick ended up in the fetal position. Yeah, I figured. Even if that went to round 2 somehow, I don't think he was getting off the stool. But you know, in the UFC at this level, I feel like, are those calf kicks really that special, or is Harry Hardwick just not tough enough to take a calf kick. I don't know. I hope maybe just because some other reasons I like Hardwick, but that is a concerning sign, getting finished to calf kicks. Moving on to the next fight. Very, very impressive performance by Ante Dalia. Quick hands, putting in the work with our boy Aspinall, Andy and Tom Aspinall. Dude, I about cried after this guy won, man. That was so cool to see. His hand placement and hand speed and his movement on the feet, especially for the heavyweight division, looked quite appetizing. Quite appetizing fighter for our weak heavyweight division right now in the UFC. And Marcin Tybura, from the minute he walked out, just kind of looked to me like he did not want to be there. Ante came out hot. With some slick combinations. I wouldn't necessarily call them slick, maybe heavyweight style. They are, but he goes out there and put pressure on Marcin Tybura really, really fast. Rocked him a couple times, or not a couple times, but he had him dazed and confused. Marcin got him pressed up with some underhooks against the fence for a little bit. As soon as Ante Dalia got out of that, man, he just went right back to work with the boxing. Tybura just looked out of place with those exchanges on the feet and looked like he didn't belong in the same octagon, striking-wise, as Ante Dalia. Great win for Ante Dalia. Excited to see how he stacks up against some higher-ranked heavyweights. Sorry. Moving on to Umar Sy, the Badi native, gets it done with the wrestling. Funny enough, when did he get that done? He got that. Oh wait. Oh yeah. Almost said submission. It was not a submission. Gets it done in round 1 by TKO on the ground. Ribero's horrible. Cut him now. He's not good. But Umar Sy, he went out there and got a finish, man. Yeah, he did. Just Ribeiro had nothing for him grappling-wise. Umar looked to have a very good control, especially with wrist control and hooking the legs and just getting better leverage in the wrestling exchanges, and was able to put Ribeiro on the ground and put him in a bad position and just punch until the ref stops, man. Until the ref stops it. Umar Sy, looking well-rounded, looking solid, even though Ribeiro is horrible. Give him someone decent, man. Give Umar Sy someone decent. Moving on to, I would say, the most boring fight of the night. I didn't watch this fight. Yeah, I was on the toilet during this fight, so I'm not even going to break it down. I caught bits and pieces. I was watching on my phone. My stomach was in shambles, though, at the moment. I don't remember much about this fight, if I'm being totally honest, besides saying, yeah, I don't even remember much about this fight. Like I said, my stomach was hurting. It was hurting for a squirt in my stomach, man. Yeah, I'm not even break down that fight because I didn't pay too great attention to it. Alex Sola gets it done against Reese McKee. Reese McKee fights like he should still be in a regional MMA promotion. There's just so many opportunities in that fight for Reese McKee to mix up just striking techniques in general, or even maybe taking it to the mat, to possibly throw off the newcomer Axel Sola's rhythm on the feet. He was landing very basic 1-2 combinations, a side kick here and there. Nothing too crazy. He was throwing, but he landed quite well. Reese McKee looked like he was hurt the entire fight, the entire fight. Sola looked tired too, but he was just able to have more output and out-damage him on the feet. Honestly thought both of these guys didn't look that good. I think Reese McKee probably is getting cut. Axel Sola, though, gets a good win. Maybe if we work on the cardio a little better and a little more mixing it up combination-wise on the feet, maybe he'd be decent. He seems to be a pretty good athlete, pretty strong. Yeah, Axel Sola gets it done in his home country. Now let's get in. Oh, shoot. I did not mean to click that. Let's get into the fight of the night. What is my thing doing? Jeez. Mason Jones against Balaji Aki. Incredible performance by Mason Jones there. Able to weather the initial storm that was Balaji Aki, and gets it. I mean, I lost my train of thought. gets it done in round 2 by TKO KO. I said it like that. But Balajiaki came out and hit Mason Jones fast with a nice punch on the feet and was able to stumble him and wobble him. And Mason Jones was able to recover on the ground and work his way back up to the feet. And then also landed a knockdown against Balajiaki as well in that round. And I can't remember exactly who I said. I remember saying you can score that round, and most likely for Mason Jones, even with the initial knockdown. However, Mason Jones got his get back, as they say, on the feet, even in the first round, and landed a knockdown of his own, and was able to weather that storm and get it done in the second round. With he looked very fluid on the feet, a little slow, but Balaji is very fast and powerful. But his ground game and his just well-roundedness to his style of fight looked very good out there in the octagon. And I thought it was great to see from Mason Jones. I'm a fan now, especially after a fight like that, and I can't wait to see who they match him up with next. I have a great idea. Moving on, Modestas Bukauskas gets it done on the feet against Paul Craig. Paul Craig retires, and most likely, I don't know if he has daughters, but he probably needs to get him a couple knives and axes to fend the assaulters that are ruining all the Western nations that invade this country. Yes. Besides the point, Modestas Bukauskas looks good. Another Tom Aspinall training partner. Looked good on the feet. Looked very, very ripped, man. Looked in great shape. A crazy buzzer beater elbow, ground and pound to the freaking face. Last minute, second knockout for Modestas Bukauskas. I like how he finished it on the ground and not like just punching and swinging through Paul Craig's pull guard game. Looked good on the feet. Paul Craig actually hit him like once or twice. I was like, oh my gosh, Modestas, we gotta get it together here, man. But Modestas Bukauskas gets it done. Looks great on the feet. I think he's worthy of an opponent that you will know of later and see why I think that, because we are about to get into the matchmaking after our co-main event and main event breakdown and reaction. Benoit Saint Denis absolutely dominates Mauricio Ruffi out in Paris, France. Gets it done by second round submission, a face crank, bit of a weak tap in my opinion. Come on, man. At least get choked out unconscious. No, I'm kidding. I don't know how bad that hurts. I guess I have an idea, but it wasn't. I've never been face cranked by a man. Benoit Saint Denis. I know Lucas Tracy is glazing all over himself right now for Lucas, but Benoit looked absolutely great in the grappling department against Mauricio Ruffi. Was absolutely dominant in that first round. As soon as he got a hold of Ruffi, he was able to put him right on the ground and control him and move him how he sees fit. And that first round was a big, just dominating performance of a round for Benoit Saint Denis. Goes out in the second round, and Ruffi actually had a flying knee attempt at one point that ended up causing him to go back down to his back and get taken down by Benoit Saint Denis. However, Ruffi did look explosive and quite accurate in the second round with the few strikes he threw. Had a couple better scrambles, but that was not even close enough to be able to defeat Benoit Saint Denis in his home country of Paris. Benoit gets it down on the ground, easily takes the body triangle and is able to flatten out at Ruffi at one point, get the back, and sink in a face crank against the cage. Beautiful performance by Benoit Saint Denis. I did not see it coming. However, in the back of my mind this whole week, it was lingering that this could possibly happen. And I wish I seen it coming more clear. However, let's get into our main event of the evening. I sounded just like Joe Martinez. He sucks, by the way. When Bruce Buffer retires, I don't know what we're going to do. I'll get in there and do it. But we have Nasruddin Imavov defeating Caio Borralho by unanimous decision. I'm going to be honest with you guys. The first two rounds weren't too great in my opinion. could have been my I had like 5 different things on the screen. I had like 4 college football games and this going on at the same time. But Imavov was just able to, like, my reason for picking him, the striking exchanges, I thought Imavov was quicker, stronger, better pop on his punches, better punch placement. And that's pretty much what he did the entire fight. And it was mainly his boxing and using his length with his hands and arms. That sounded so retarded. But he was able to also neutralize the, how many takedown attempts did Kaio had? He started having quite a few takedown attempts. Yeah, he was 0 for 5. Nasruddin was able to stuff every single one of them. And I just, from, watching the fights and being a fan, I just thought Nasruddin was better on the feet. A bit more technical, better foot placement, better movement, better at avoiding damage. And that is the one thing that I think that is going to really hurt Kaio unless he really decides to clean this up. He needs better head movement. His footwork, I almost said feet work. His footwork's not bad. He's able to get in and out half decently, but his head does not move with his body. And for a guy like Nasruddin, it was just too easy to punch off angles and just find the target to the head and out damage him in about every round except maybe 4, if I remember correctly. But I think 50-45 is a little crazy. You can make an argument for it, though. But Nasruddin looked great. And let's get into the matches to make. Starting off. Okay. This is a bit of a ramble, bit of a rant. So for Nasruddin, he should get the title shot next. He should be the next person to fight for the title. Either way, he should not take a fight until he gets the title shot. He deserves it. Fully. However, while I don't think this will happen, he did leave a little too much room open for a phenomenal performance by Rainier D. Ritter, or my best friend Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, to possibly take that next shot away from him. He looked very good, and I think he can offer a couple little things. I think Hamzat ragdolls him, but I think if one of these guys gets a big dominating performance or a nasty finish, I think there is a chance they jump him. However, I don't necessarily think that should happen, but it sucks because we don't know how active this loser, Hamzat Chimaev, is going to be. So no matter what, you don't know how long any of these 3 guys could be sitting on the sidelines, no matter which way they go with that fight. But matches to make, all in all, Nasruddin's next for Hamzat. And if for some reason he does not get a title shot against Hamzat next, and they decide not to have him wait for the title shot, he should fight the loser of this fight, in my opinion. I won't lie, I was kind of being lazy with this, but it's just kind of a weird spot at middleweight. But I say you give it to Nasruddin, give Hamzat the defense, have this fight happen, winner fights Hamzat, and then it's even better. The losers fight each other. So, but I think either of these matchups are good matchups either way. So, but more of kind of just the state of the division talk more than any specific match being made. Next up, we have Caio Borralho, and I think his next fight should be against Israel Adesanya. And let me tell you why. I think this is a good idea promotional-wise because while Izzy is disliked by people like me, he was a promoter's dream, somewhat popular, somewhat of a superstar, maybe. But Sean Strickland, what are you doing with him? Let's see a fresh matchup. Sean's suspended. You got Whitaker there. There's Costa kind of down there. What do you do with Adesanya? What do you do with Borralho? I think you do Borralho, Adesanya next. I think you can market this well. I think I would hope that Borralho wouldn't be too respectful. We could get a nice build-up to this fight. I think this is a good rangefinder of where Borralho is and the style of fighter he can really be against a guy like Izzy, who has a weakness grappling-wise with decent takedown defense, but also how good of a striker is Borralho? We know Imavov was made easy work of Adesanya with that second round knockout. But how good is Kyle Berhalio fighting a barely out of prime Israel Adesanya, former middleweight champion? I think my main thing, I just kind of get in the nitty gritty about it. I think it's just a cool fight. So that's why I think it should happen. I think it's a cool fight. And the fighting nerds are somewhat popular, so might as well give one of those guys, even though he is the least popular member, maybe my favorite. Oh, wait, no, he's not. I like all the fighting nerds except Gene Silva, mainly, but John Silva's also from white. Nevertheless, make this fight. It's fun. It should be pretty entertaining. Could be a good build-up. You make this fight, man. It's good for the promotion, good for the business, good for everyone. Moving on to the next fight. Benoit Saint Denis, Mateusz Gamrot is a perfect fight to make right now with the state of the lightweight division. I know a lot of people are calling for the Chandler fight. I think Chandler is either one above or one below Benoit Saint Denis. Chandler's on his way out. You can still do something with Benoit. He could get even better. He could be even better than what we thought after the Renato Moicano performance and the Kyle Prepolek performance. Now, coming back off a win over Mauricio Huffy, give him a guy like Gamrot. Give him a guy who grapples. See if Benoit can beat Gamrot to get in that top 8 area to have some new, fresh matchups. Because Gamrot's very good. Like, I'm not taking anything away from the gamer, Mateusz Gamrot, the Pole. But he's been lingering that top 8 for a while. He's fought a lot of guys up there. I say you do this fight. It's an interesting matchup. I think it's kind of a bad matchup for Mateusz in a way. However, Benoit is slow, so then you look at Mateusz, someone who's pretty quick wrestling, takedowns. That was a weird way to say it. But nevertheless, I think this is a good fight. It's really the only interesting matchup for Gamrot fighting down in the rankings because he's not going to fight up with how the rankings are with Pimblett, Gaethje, Hooker, Arman. I think Islam's still in the rankings. Oliveira's up there. Fiziv's up there, and a lot of these guys are matched up where there's kind of like the 4 weird horsemen right now of Hooker, Pimblett, Gaethje, and Arman. So I think this is the matchup you make. I think it's interesting. I think it's exciting. It's a good matchup. Make it, Dana. Moving on. Mauricio Huffy versus Ignacio Bajo Mendez. That's a phenomenal fight, dude. Main card opener in like. Even you can maybe do this on the MSG card if Hoofy wants that quick of a turnaround. But, dude, you put this on, like, the first Paramount card or that December pay-per-view main card opener or prelim main event. This is a banger of a fight. Could be a fight night co-main event. This is a phenomenal fight, I think. Bajo Mendez is currently outside the rankings. Roofy's currently outside the rankings. I say you do this. You do Roofy against a guy who's a little more well-rounded in Bajo Mendez who can mix it up on the ground somewhat, but is not going to have necessarily that strength and wrestling ability of a guy like Benoit Saint Denis. So you see where Hoofy is there in the grappling game. Then you also see him go up against an elite striker in Bajo Mendez, and you get to figure out who the better striker is there, and then give the winner another top 15 shot, another ranking shot. And then back to the drawing board for the loser. But this is just a phenomenal matchup, I think. And I don't think you can pass up on making this fight right now. I think stylistically it would be so entertaining. And to see these 2 guys fight it out on the feet would be pretty freaking epic, in my opinion. Moving on. Give Modestas Bukauskas a ranked Nikita Krylov. No, I think this is an interesting matchup. Both backgrounds in karate. Modestas, I think, has a potential for top 15. Been around the UFC for a while. Give him a top 15 shot against probably over-the-hill Nikita Krylov. You can range and see where Krylov is there in his career. Then, if Modestas Bukauskas gets it done, there's another top 15 light heavyweight to introduce into the rankings. Considering there are still some older guys have been there for a while, kind of lingering. So I think this is just a good matchup. I think Modestas deserves a top 15 opponent, and I think Krylov, with a similar background in karate, is just a great matchup. And I think it's a fun fight, and I think it should be made. Moving on, final matchup: Mason Jones versus Drew Dober. Dude, imagine this fight. I bet Drew Dober was pumped to see Mason Jones beat Balajiaki. But think about this fight between these two wild men. I think it's a good test for Mason Jones because I think the skills are there for him to be a perennial top 15 guy in the UFC. However, where is he athletically compared to those more upper echelon guys? And why I think Drew Dober relies more on his athleticism, explosiveness, power. So it's kind of like a bump up Balajiaki sort of in a way. But not only is this just a fun and a great matchup, two guys that are willing to go out there and scrap, I think it's a good way to see where Mason Jones is at his career. And, on the flip side of Dober's, been in some wars. I think he's like 13-11 is his record. I still maybe wouldn't cut him I wouldn't cut a guy like that with a chin like that, man. I wouldn't cut him. But I think this is just a good matchup. And I don't see, with Mason Jones, it being his second stint in the UFC and him having that octagon feel already in him and that experience, I say you go ahead and give him a guy who's probably, like a top 30 lightweight in the world. You know what I mean? So I think that's the fight to make. And I think it would be a fun fight nevertheless. And guys, that will do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry. I decided to go ahead and kind of combine these videos because usually I do Monday the recap, Tuesday the fights to make next. If y'all preferred this format of this way of doing it, kind of the breakdown recap a little quicker and then kind of moving on into what's the future for some of the winners and losers of the previous card, let me know. I'll start doing the videos this way. If you like it the old way, go ahead and drop the comment. It would be like the 4th comment I've ever got on a video. So if you would, just go ahead, hit that subscribe. No, I'm not doing it that way. But if you could subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. It would mean the world to me. If you would like this video, I would graciously accept your like of this video. If you could subscribe, like, hit the bell, hit the notification button, drop a comment. And thank you if you've watched this whole video. Really means the world to me. I'm really trying hard to see if I can make this worthwhile. So I enjoy making these videos, and if you've watched this, I enjoy you too. And I think you're a freaking cool dude because I doubt there's any ladies watching this video. But if there are, is there DMs on YouTube? But thank you for watching, and God is good.